Hi guys, today we're going to be looking at the first issue British 1944 pattern web set, a set of webbing which was designed during the Second World War but never actually saw service in the field during that conflict. The first time it's seen in photographs is during jungle training in Britain in August 1945, I believe. The photographs are reproduced on the website Khaki Web, which I will put a link to in the description of the video. It did see service after the war, and it was used in Korea, used in the Malayan emergency and components, and not always as a full set, and similarly in Borneo in the Indonesia confrontation. Because of use in Malaya and Borneo, it became synonymous with jungle warfare. Indeed, it was a theatre issue. Generally speaking, 1937 pattern was still used in Europe by and large, whereas the 1944 pattern was reserved for use out in the Far East. The set here is laid out with the haversack worn on the back. The fitting instructions seem to do away with the idea of battle order and marching order. The haversack is generally intended to be worn on the back. However, the set did include a rucksack, which I do not have an example of, they're rather rare, which could be worn on the back, and in that instance the haversack can be worn on the ends of the braces. I will go into that in more detail later on in the video. You do occasionally see 1944 pattern worn with the 1908 pack on the back using the 1944 pattern L straps. It can be attached. Notably, you see that in Korea with new troops arriving towards the end of the war. So anyway, we'll have a look at the details. I'll get rid of the haversack for a minute and go over some of the details. So, and in terms of the basic pouches, it has two large basic pouches which are analogous to the late 1937 pattern, the Mark III design. Sit quite high on the belt, large carrying capacity, etc. There are differences which we'll get into in a minute, but you can see they're still made in with the Bren light machine gun magazines in mind, to be able to carry those. They can also carry mortar bombs, etc. So they're universal in a similar sort of concept to the 1937 pattern. The pouches are handed left and right, and this is the left hand pouch as you wear it. As you can see here, one major addition to the 1937 pattern is a frog for the, well, loops for the bayonet, the upper loop having a buttonhole in it to take the stud or button on the bayonet sheath, and a little loop at the bottom to hold the bottom of the sheath. Obviously not all bayonets would fit in this. This was in 1944 the rifle number 1 Mark III or SMLE was still in service, so partially with that in mind, a separate frog was also included, which is essentially the early 1937 pattern style, but later, well, the later modification to that design rather, slightly narrower, and it has the buttonhole, the top loop, which was made to take the number 4 spike bayonet. This could also be used if wearing the belt without the pouches attached, of course. If you wish to, on parade, wear just the belt and frog, you could. So that's an additional item. The pouches have a neat little feature, the quick release fastening, which I can pull open here. Ooh, there we go. Has two loops which allow the pouch to be closed in two different positions, so depending on what you're carrying in the pouch, just helps to keep it securely closed and weather tight. These large, you see the large sides on the lids there, the flap, so you basically have that extra bit of adjustment to make them that bit more universal in terms of carrying. As you can see, they're quite deep. They are deeper as well than the 1937 pattern to give a little bit of extra carrying capacity. The braces are quite different though, as you can see here. The belt has not only do they buckle to the top of the pouches and to the back of the belt, they also have these extra straps which are supporting straps which clip to attachments on the belt here, which can be adjusted under the arms to help take some of the weight of the pouches. It's quite a neat design, and that is a development from, obviously 37 pattern doesn't have anything like this. You've got the broader bearing surface on the shoulders than compared with 1937 pattern braces. Obviously made in a lighter weight green webbing material. The fittings are aluminium. In the early, it's quite often to see sort of brown finish in the early manufactured. Same here. The tips on the webbing vary from green to a blackish colour, or even a brown sometimes. The belt is made in 3 parts, and it adjusts using the clips like the 1937 pattern, but they go the clip is on the end of this section of the belt, which clips to a back piece. So this middle section here is a separate piece, and each end clips on. They still attach with the classic mill style hook and loop buckle. Another difference is the eyelets, which can be used to suspend equipment like the water bottle in its carrier. I'll get the bottle out and show you that now. The carrier, I'll show the back of the webbing in a minute and show the details of the carrier from the back as well. The carrier, as well as carrying the water bottle, also has room for a millbank bag, which is a water filtration bag. So I'll get the bottle out now and show you that. So the water bottle, as you can see, is a kidney shape, similar in shape to the 1944, to the American M1910, sorry. Water bottle with the kidney shaped cup. Unlike the folding up handle, the cup has butterfly handles, which allowed you, obviously, the metal cup attached allowed you to brew up. This is a huge leap forward from the enamel water bottles that we used with the 1937 pattern web equipment, which obviously dated back to the First World War and beyond. So we'll just take a look at the back of the equipment here. As you can see, the belt in Mills fashion has the little pockets for the C hooks to fit into, the basic pouches. The back of the water bottle carrier, which also has a belt loop as well as the suspension hooks. You've got the inside face of the braces. These early pouches, as I say, sit high on the belt. There is, however, a small loop here, which I'll explain when I show you the haversack. There's a strap on the well, I'll show you where the strap is on the haversack. There's a strap on the haversack which passes around basically the base of the rib cage is where this sits, passes through these loops and helps to keep the top of the pouch, because they sit so high they have a tendency to sag out. Helps keep them close to the body when you're wearing the haversack. It was fiddly, and you don't see it used very often, even when the haversack is being worn on the back, but it's there, and it's a feature that was included, so I'll show you that. So here is the first issue 1944 pattern haversack. It is roughly the same size as the 1937 pattern haversack, carried in a similar manner, but beyond that it's quite different. Has 2 side pouches, 2 side pockets, which are closed with a quick release fastening. Pull tab. Not particularly weather tight. They're not the best design in the world, with just this little piece of fabric here to fold over and keep the side of the lid closed, the side of the flap. There's one of those on each side of the haversack. The main compartment is a single compartment, unlike the 1937 pattern. Also closes in a different manner. The 1937 pattern has the straps on the flap. Here they're on the front of the pack, and the buckles are here on the flap, which means you can pull down and tighten the flap down quite securely. Unfortunately, this one is a little worse for wear. As you can see, there is a sort of waterproof lining, which is unfortunately worn quite heavily. And as you can see in here, the weather flaps out of the way, you can see in there it's get some light in here. It's a single large compartment that can be used sort of more, I suppose, it's in a way it's more versatile. You've got the little eyelets on the weather flaps, so you can, if you wish, tie them across. We'll close that up. The haversack also features a large amount of external stowage in terms of straps and attachment points. Here you've got, obviously, I imagine, copied off American practice of having the little piece of webbing with the eyelets in on the flap to carry, in this case, most likely another water bottle. There is footage in Jungle Green, which I've also mentioned in other videos, the 1964 documentary filmed out in Borneo, of chaps with extra water bottles on the back of the haversack. The loop here on the flap and lower down are for the carriage of a specifically designed lightweight pick and shovel, which were associated with the 1944 pattern web equipment. And on the lower side here, it's probably easier if I actually turn it over like that. There are 2 straps on the bottom, which can be used to carry ground sheet or the 1944 pattern poncho, and just show you the way that this is carried on the back as well. Oh, the first thing I'll show you actually is the strap I mentioned. There's an end of it here and an end of it here with a buckle, as you can see. So that goes right the way to a tip at the other end, and that goes around, as I say, when you wear this on the back, it's at the base of the haversack, and it would run round roughly where, at the base of your ribcage, where the top of the pouches are, and it can be wrapped through those loops on the back of the pouches to support the back of the pouches at the top and stop them sagging outwards. Again, you don't tend to see that done. It's done in the fitting instructions, but in the field you don't tend to see it done. It's a bit of a hassle, I can say from experience of trying to do it. So the L straps are roughly, they're based on the 1937 pattern principle with hooks, which hook into the top of the ammunition pouches. I will just grab the web set and drag it back in. So when you're wearing this on the back, the hook comes up and hooks here one-handed into the top of the pouch like that. So when you wear it, it sits like that. So there we go. Now the way they differ mainly is in having adjustment both on the vertical strap and on the horizontal strap. They both have adjustment buckles that you can pull to tighten, which was something that was brought up when the research was being done for this web equipment. So that is the haversack. You see these worn a lot out in Malaya and in Borneo. Particularly, you see them worn on the back without any braces on the webbing, so just hanging on the L straps. And they were good for sort of short range, 2-day patrols, that sort of thing. You could carry the rations in them effectively. If you were going much further than that, you'd need something a bit bigger perhaps, or air resupply. But you see a lot of footage of chaps going out on patrol from jungle forts, carrying these with their equipment in, with their spare clothing and their rations and cooking equipment. So one thing I almost forgot to mention, above the side pouches there is this small buckle on the side, which is the buckle used to attach the haversack to the brace ends when worn on the hip. As with the 1937 pattern, though, with having the side pouches, they're somewhat on a short strap, just squeezed in between the top of the side pouch and the main flap of the haversack. So there we are, that's how you attach it to the brace ends. So there we have the first issue, British 1944 pattern web equipment. I will do another video on the second issue components, which turn up in the 1960s, which were a later modification to the design. But that's a topic for another video. So I hope you found this interesting, and until next time, bye for now.